Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on the DAZN. Ben Shalom.
How are you?
Good, mate. How's things?
Very good, very busy. Very exciting times just to be involved in the sport. It's another ridiculous day. Today, I've had a few pinch myself moments. Saturday night was obviously one. It was an amazing weekend for Callum and Caroline, and then that event was just some of heroes in a room. It was surreal. There's not many times in this sport or this job where you get to just think about what's going on, and I have to say, I'm not too proud to say it. It was like a moment where I was like, wow, this is pretty special.
It's good to admit being starstruck. I will admit, although it was 100 miles an hour, I was a little bit starstruck at points on Saturday. I know a few people in the dinner hall were kind of spying on a conversation that you and Eddie were having. I spoke to Eddie and he said fights might get made tonight. Did any fights, so you'd have to say what, between you and anyone, did any fights get made on Saturday night?
Yeah, there's definitely 2 or 3. And that's, and I've seen the comments, and it's frustrating because I was in a situation all week where I was stressed, like, right, there's the Ring Magazine event, and then obviously my event, and there's nothing more enjoyable as a promoter than fight night. This is probably the reason why you do it, and so to have to miss that, it was playing on my mind, and I knew either way I couldn't win, because if I hadn't gone, this sport moves so fast, and my fighters would miss out on opportunities. And after what happened on Saturday night, I knew I was proven right, because a lot got done, and a lot wouldn't have got done, and a lot would have been missed if I wasn't there. And it was devastating, but obviously delighted to be there, and thanks to His Excellency, because he keeps doing some incredible things. But obviously devastated, but when it works out like it did, and Callum and Caroline were absolutely superb and looked so special. I couldn't be more excited for both of their careers now. It's pretty frightening, and great weekend all in all, and a lot to look forward to.
You said you was under a little bit of pressure in terms of stress and almost wanting to be in 2 places at once. When you done that interview on IFL with Eddie come out by saying that you've been randomly ringing him and saying, why are you being a dickhead?
It's just my
this
sense.
Needs to be addressed.
It's just my
late night call from you. Just
it's not a late
Ed,
night.
Why are you being a dickhead?
It's just my sense of humour. It might not come across probably on camera, but I'm very dry, and I like the back and forth, and I
think you could tell that you were stressed in that clip between you and Eddie.
Do you think?
I think so.
No, I definitely wasn't. I think it was difficult because I was trying to watch the fight the fights all throughout the evening. So it was difficult. But then obviously a lot of fights getting made, it's crazy. There's no other sport like it where so much just gets done, or so much business gets done, and in those sort of environments. And it was an amazing evening. Obviously. A massive fight that everyone's talking about, but other fights as well. And it was a great night, and I definitely in the end had to make a decision, made the right decision, and everyone's happy, and I'm with Callum tonight, and he's if there's anyone out of all the stable, and I know I've said it before, but having a fighter that is so weird as a promoter to actually look up to a fighter, he makes me feel immature. Like what he can deal with, how he deals with it, how he handles everything. Incredible person. Like, speak to anyone around him, it's almost like a special guy. And when you've got that mentality and that temperament, that he's going to go to the very top. He doesn't leave a stone unturned. He works so hard. I've never seen someone fight with so much intensity. And he got him out of there in the early rounds after such a difficult, and still a really difficult part of his life. And delighted for him, delighted for Caroline. Thought Scott Forrest had a great knockout and was good to see him back. Thought Sam Hickey looked phenomenal, and he's a special talent in Scotland that can do great things. And and great fights got made over the weekend. It's all moving so fast. And then a press conference today. So that's boxing at the moment, and obviously just delighted to be involved.
Let's talk about the big fight that you're on about that everyone keeps mentioning. I've seen people congratulate you on making the fight. I've seen people congratulate Conor today. I've heard whispers that there's been a few interviews announcing the fight behind people's backs. I've seen dates from Mike Coppinger, weights from Mike Coppinger. I've heard an early April, a late April. Right now, as we sit here, and I'll say it's 8 o'clock in the evening on Monday, where do we stand with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr.?
I think close. The event's taking shape in terms of the things are getting put in place, but ultimately it's never done until it's done, and it's not signed. And I say that hand on heart, it's not. And there's still things going on. And so until it's signed, it's not done. We've overcome so many hurdles. It's been a marathon. His Excellency has been fantastic. He's taken the egos out. Because there are a lot of egos, and it's not always easy. And so to have someone, it's such a weird, but probably like in hindsight, you start to think, shouldn't this be how it operates? You know, instead of having opposing sides, like you have, it's almost like a mediator or like a, you know, someone that an adjudicator or someone that can just take the sting out of situations. And him and Dr. Akan, who is phenomenal at his job as well, are able to make it easier. But as I say, it's still not done. It really isn't. And if it doesn't happen, obviously I'll be absolutely devastated. It's been so much work, but we're close. And I've probably never been more excited for an event.
Me and you both.
Yeah, I think people don't. I think for the boxing purists, I get it, and I see a lot of it about, you know, they're not world champions and this and that. But I think sometimes when we're all in the boxing world, we don't realise sometimes how big these events are, not just in the boxing world, but as an event in culture, and it is British culture, and it's going to be something remarkable. If it happens.
You said about Turkey taking the egos out of negotiations. Well, the egos will come back in. Conor Benn was an angry man on Saturday night, by the way.
I know.
Like I would say I'm good friends with Conor, known him for a while. Mate, I thought he wanted to kill me, and I was only asking him a question about the fight. That is an angry man that's walking about right now. Him and Chris ain't the best of friends, we know that. It's going to be quite a spicy couple of months.
It is. It is. It's going to be mad. It is going to be mad. I just hope it doesn't. It's one of those fights and relationships that's on such a knife edge. You just hope it doesn't go absolutely overboard. You know, there's a lot of pent-up aggression. There's a lot of pent-up emotion. There's a lot of. It's deep because of what happened for both of them. You know, what Chris had to go through. It was a horrible time in his life. And obviously Conor feels hard done to by the whole situation, and you can see that he carries that. Oh, it's good. You know, we see a lot of amazing fights, but it's the old school British rivalries that do it for me. That's what I always loved. Growing up, those were the fights that really, you know, captured your imagination, and I feel like this is going to be one of them.
Yeah, you know, it's a good fight when it's a fight that like your mum would be interested in or something like that, and the kind of widespread acknowledgement of Ben Eubank is massive. Just on today,
Eubank Ben.
Eubank Ben. Well, I saw again you talking about this the other day. That's going to be something where egos come into play, because I know you and Eddie don't really care. You'll say Eubank Ben, he said Eubank Ben, but in terms of changing rooms, walking first.
I think Eubank's the A side.
Is that going to be coined?
No, I think Eubank's the A side, and everyone understands that.
And that means every segment.
I think, but look, Conor's will get, if it happens, life-changing. This is huge. You know, and both fighters are very lucky to be in that position. Worked extremely hard, but very lucky they've got the dance partner that is going to capture the whole of the nation. And, yeah, it's great to see it work out if it gets signed.
Yeah. February 22nd, some serious names up the table today, just from your side, and Joshua Buatsi. I was actually speaking to Anthony Yard at the Peacock the other day. He's adamant that this isn't down to him, the reason that it's not Buatsi and Yard. He said a verbal agreement, not one verbal agreement, two verbal agreements, and it should be those two fighting. He said Joshua Buatsi would have made more money as well as a UK headliner against me. Just your response to that. Obviously, JB's now in a massive fight on a Riyadh season bill. Just kind of your take on
Look,
What we thought
I
would be
thought it was.
Buatsi odd.
I thought it was happening at Selhurst Park, June the 15th, 2024. I was certain it was happening. Certain. It didn't happen, and politics got in the way. Not from Josh's side. At that point, it was. There was a lot of issues that have been well publicised. But I think from Josh's perspective, he has always been consistent around world titles with myself, always. And I think because of the situation when Anthony Yard had removed himself from the situation for the interim title, that's when it sort of went in a different direction, because Josh has worked so hard to get to that position. Anthony's fought for a world title twice. Josh has never fought for a world title. And to be able to win an interim belt, that was always going to take precedence in Josh's mind. And then the approach was made and the money was put up, and that was a fight that was put to Josh at the time. And the money was very good for a fight that he feels is really winnable, on a fantastic card. Of course, I know the British fans want to see Buatsi hard, and so do I. But ultimately, Josh, his dream is to become a world champion. But who knows what happens next? Because unfortunately for Josh, you'd have never thought that this division would have been held up that long. It's amazing for the division that we've seen Bivol Bivol twice. The first one was delayed because of an injury. Then then this one happens. Then the second one happens. That holds up the whole division.
I mean, you even look at Usyk Fury, the second one. There was a belt removed that Daniel had to actually have all the belts back to back.
But it's fantastic. But the guys on the periphery are treading water. Anyway, I believe that fight will happen. But this is a really tough fight for Josh Buatsi, and a chance to prove he's elite level. It really is. He's been phenomenal. I feel like he sometimes, I've said it to Josh, he does lose concentration sometimes in fights. So I hope he doesn't mind me saying that, when he's ahead. I feel like he's the type of person to match his opposition. And I'm really looking forward to him going into a fight where maybe he can't take his foot off the gas and really show us how good he is. And he's got the bit between his teeth. It's difficult when you're on a card like this and there's so many fights and you've got to make something. You've got to make a statement. You've got to make noise. And he wants to stop Callum Smith, and what a statement that will be. Callum's a fantastic fighter, and but Josh is really ready for this one.
Is he favourite?
I think so. Listen, I've not looked at the bookies. In my eyes, career light heavyweight, in great form. Step up, active. I think you have to make him the favourite, but Callum Smith's been here, done it, got the T-shirt, and we'll try and use that experience to get over the line. But a great fight.
Just in terms of Anthony Yard, I know he's promotionally a free agent right now. He fought on the Boxer Show, and I remember speaking to JB after he was literally commentating for Sky. He dissected his performance to me. They crossed paths. We got a couple good clips backstage. I don't know what Anthony's plan is moving forward. He hasn't been too open about it. I know he's looking for perhaps a promotional deal, a multi-fight deal. Are you interested, or are you talking to Anthony about working with him?
Look, I'll just be honest. Everyone is interested in Anthony Yard. He's a commercial star. There's not many of them, and he really is. And so he'll be disappointed because of not getting that Buatsi fight. And I feel like we tried, you saw on Sky that night, it just didn't catch. I think June 15th at Selhurst Park, it was ready to go.
Do you think we needed a bit of like a ringside bust-up? I know that's not how you want fights to...
I think for me, that had the potential to be their box office moment, their pay-per-view moment that changes your career. Headlining on box office is something that changes your value as a fighter completely. So yeah, you can take the big money. Riyadh season is fantastic. It is unbelievable. But headlining on a pay-per-view card changes the rest of your career. We've seen it with so many fighters, and so it's a shame. It is, but it will happen at the right time, and it's in God's hands, and that's just how things work out sometimes. But Anthony Yard is back in the mix, and this I expect him to have a massive year.
Yeah. Tyson Fury decides to retire on the day of the press conference for one of the best cards we've ever seen.
Yeah.
don't want to be a cynic, but we've seen it before. But also, when I spoke to Frank, he said, look, I haven't spoke to Tyson yet, but he said he's not too surprised, something he expected. What do you think from the outside?
I don't know. I was actually on the phone to Spencer Brown at the time it came out, and I was like, and I don't think anyone was aware.
Well, was Spencer shocked as well?
I wouldn't say shocked. I'm just saying I don't believe anyone was aware, and so he seems serious, but then you don't know. But all I'd say is I'm a Tyson Fury fan. I think he's been brilliant, and I think he's brought so many eyeballs to the sport. He's such a character. To have him and Anthony Joshua as the two biggest heavyweights commercially in the world, being British, it's been brilliant, and I think he's done fantastic. I always remember the night in Germany, the Klitschko night. It was phenomenal. One of my favourite nights as a fan. And so if he is time, then he has achieved everything, and good luck to him.
Do we lose a chunk of British boxing?
In
terms of him and Joshua
we
combined?
always knew the day would come when Fury and Joshua hang up their gloves. And that's why we've got to build the next generation of stars, because they do bring a lot. If you look at the Riyadh season cards, how many of them have involved Fury and Joshua? Because they're the draw. And we're going to lose a lot, and it's the job of the promoters to make sure that we build the next generation of stars who's going to headline the box office events and who's going to grow the sport.
Is it more difficult to grow a fighter now? I know that sounds stupid because you've got the power of social media, even things like TikTok and whatnot. There's several ways to put yourself out there. Is it more difficult now, or have promoters just not been doing it right?
It's
because
a good question.
we have to say, since Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, and I know Joshua had the gold medal, home Olympics, it was quite set up to build a star. But since Fury and Joshua, we haven't had... There's been big names, but there hasn't been...
Monumental, yeah.
There hasn't been a
Household.
monumental British name.
It's such an interesting
Chris
question.
Eubank don't touch even the rim of where
They don't.
Joshua and Fury have
Chris
sat.
Eubank, for me, I'll actually say he's the biggest star outside the heavyweight division. But, yeah, it's different. Boxing's changing. And I still think it's really important to build stars. I think it's fantastic to have all these fights and the 50-50 fights. I really do. And I think it's brilliant. But the development of a fighter and the build of a fighter and the growth of the fighter, whether it was Ricky Hatton when I was growing up, that's really what captures the imagination of the people and builds the sport. So I still think it's really important. But it is a harder environment now because the fans demanding the 50-50 fight straight away, and that's amazing for the sport. But you've got to get the balance right. If you know you've got a star, you've got to try and give him everything to make him into that star, because that's doing the best by him.
Yeah. Well, I suppose AJ didn't really have a 50-50 fight to 13-14 in against Dillian, so there is, like you say, method in doing so. Right, Adam Catterall called it a farcical mess on TalkSport either last night or a couple of nights ago.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that he's not far wrong?
No, I can't wait
moment?
I think it's being made to look like that. For promotional,
Is it messy behind the scenes right
for
now?
promotional reasons, I knew that they were up to something. I knew that, but look, let's get into it. I want to respond to what he said.
Well, you said there were certain inaccuracies that you're not happy about.
The fact that everyone's all I'm seeing is we should have matched the offer, or whoever pays for it. I make an offer for Liam Cameron. They make an offer for Ben Whittaker. What's Liam Cameron's purse got to do with Ben Whittaker's purse? I've heard this. They're valuing the fight higher. How do they know what we pay Ben Whittaker? How we pay Ben Whittaker? How he's remunerated? So I don't understand that. Fine if they want to pay Liam Cameron more, but what's that got to do with Ben Whittaker? Not to mention we've already been negotiated and asked for the number, and we agreed on a number with his manager. But putting all that aside, they're sort of trying to claim that this is Ben Whittaker. This is why this is Ben Whittaker's highest purse, and that I'm not doing right by my fighter. It's just nonsense. The whole thing for me is just designed to embarrass me, and not just me, but the promotion and this and that. it doesn't make sense. It was a straightforward deal. The deal is still there. The offer's still there. We're not blocking the fight. We've got no intention of blocking the fight. We'd want the fight. But if they don't want it or don't want to accept it, then move on. But this nonsense around what we should be doing and that we're not doing right by our fighter and somehow they're valuing the fight more, it's mental. Because it doesn't make sense. Like, tell me how it makes sense. Tell me.
Can you tell us what your value of the fight was?
Can I tell you what I pay Ben Whittaker? Not really. How can I tell you what I pay Ben Whittaker? All I can say is that's not his highest payday, and by any stretch. So that I'll confirm. But what is there? How? I just don't understand what Ben Whittaker's purse has got to do with Liam Cameron's. If they're happy with Liam Cameron's purse, then take the fight. I'm asking you. I don't know what I'm not seeing.
Well, let's just say we're taking it completely from the outside. Obviously, your view would be different because you're seeing things in the boardroom that you might subconsciously even sneak into interviews, right? But obviously, from the complete outside, let's say the guys like people listening to Talk Sport. I guess the presumption, like I said, is there's a pot of money that you've offered,
There's no pot
offered.
There's no pot.
Well, I think that's the presumption.
How does that work?
That there's just a pot of money that's
there's
being
no pot.
paid.
And who decides what? There's no pot. What's a pot like? Right, okay. Let's use an example.
Does Liam Cameron get paid better if it's on a boxer show or a TNT show? Depending on the
it's not my
base of
Liam Cameron's not my concern. Ben Whittaker's my concern. I got asked for a purse for Liam Cameron. I matched that purse even though I thought it was high. I'm not there to make sure Liam Cameron earns. That's not my job. I look after Ben Whittaker, and the suggestion that us and the team aren't on the same page is nonsense.
So you are paying Ben Whittaker higher than Frank Warren would, or was Frank Warren offered to pay Ben Whittaker?
Frank Warren's offered to pay, but suggesting that they're valuing his purse higher and the fight higher and that it's somehow Ben Whittaker's highest payday is nonsense. Now, I'm not going to get into, and I shouldn't have to get into what we pay Ben Whittaker.
No, you don't.
That's where I feel like they've been using Liam Cameron as a pawn. Come out and say, oh, this is his highest purse, and they're not selling their fighter, and that they're valuing the fight more. No, they're asking for more money for Liam Cameron, or they're saying that they can pay Liam Cameron more, but it's got nothing to do with Ben Whittaker.
This legal situation. Yeah. Can you define the grounds that boxer would?
All it is, and it's only a part of it. It's just that we've had it so much that they're contacting the fighter directly or the manager directly and the lawyer directly when they know that that's an interference with the contract, using their fighter to say that we're not doing the right thing by the promoter, our fighter, and they're valuing the fight more, and this is Ben Whittaker's highest payday. It's just all nonsense. So although it might seem like petty stuff, look at the narrative it's created, that we're somehow blocking the fight, and Adam Catterall's calling it farcical nonsense, even though he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about.
What grounds legally can you? Because I know Frank was like,
you can't lie. So you can't make up stuff about someone.
So you think it's like slanderous?
Well, you just can't. You can't. All we've asked, to be honest, is for it to be cleared up, and for an apology to be made, or to just set it right. We're not looking to. We don't do that. We're not looking to ask for money or ask for this or ask for that. We just don't want people lying about our business for no reason.
So I know promoter relationships are fairly strong. Yours and Frank's has been quite rocky of recent. Is pushing Liam Cameron and Ben Whittaker over the line the perfect way to smooth out this relationship? Because you know from Riyadh, since the second Ben left the ring in a wheelchair, you know from then the British fans have wanted to see this rematch. Is this the perfect way to smooth over a relationship between you and Frank?
I don't know. Look, they're the ones that have pushed and pushed and pushed, figuratively, whatever, in every single way with every fighter, and they don't. You've heard Eddie say it. Frank's the master of not making things easy, and that seems to be a number one goal of him. You know, if Liam Cameron wanted the rematch so much, he signed with Queensbury as soon as Queensbury weren't representing him on the first fight. So how does that make sense? And so the whole thing for me has been designed to make it difficult. It's been designed to obstruct it. It's been designed to make us look stupid. But I'm not having it anymore. It's got to the point where people want to hear what they want to hear, but it's not right. It's not true. And we want the fight. If they want the fight, it's there for them. If they don't, then we move on. But we're not having that we're blocking the fight in any way.
Is the difficulty watching this damage Ben Whittaker as well? Because ultimately
No,
that's what...
Look, Ben Whittaker will prove his worth in the ring. Ultimately, that is his job. And I didn't think the noise around him could get any bigger. It's now massive. It was massive before, it's now massive after, and he's a star. He was presenting an award at the Ring magazine on Saturday night. He's a star. He brings, whether people like it or not, he brings more eyeballs to this sport than nearly anyone outside of AJ and Fury. Like, that's special. And yes, you can say that his performance last time, and he'll know that it was way substandard. But that's what we're dealing with here with Ben. And it's his job to just put it right in the ring. And he will do.
If he doesn't take the rematch,
he's taken the rematch. He's taken the rematch. He's happy with the rematch. If they don't want it, then that's it.
So the ball is in their court.
The ball is in their court. They can take it. They know they can take it. Is this a
Riyadh season fight?
No, it's in the UK. Okay. They can take it.
Could this become a Riyadh season fight?
No, I think this is a fight that, you know, he's a young fighter, Ben, still, in terms of number of fights. We want him to fight in the UK. He wants to fight in the UK for this fight. He fought in Riyadh season last. And that's where it will happen. And yeah, it's, as I say, it's frustrating because it should have been so simple.
Is there a reluctance from your side to have the fight? And I know you say Ben wants the fight, you want the fight to happen. But is there a slight reluctance to have the fight on TNT? I mean, the reason you signed Ben Whittaker and he's pushed by Sky Sports is, you know, it's beneficial.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's beneficial for you, it's beneficial for him. So him not fighting on Boxer would be a bit of a hit.
Yeah, it's a strange one because he's a Sky ambassador. Like, people forget there's been a lot of investment into him. He's a Sky ambassador. He fights on Sky. He's not the away fighter in the fight. So why would he suddenly become the away fighter? Is that in his interests? They talk about me acting in my fighter's interest. He's a star. He's not the away fighter in this fight by any stretch of the imagination. He's remunerated really well. And if they want the fight, they can have the fight. We're all on the same page, but we're not going to be messed around. And they know what they're doing. He's, you know, Frank's very experienced, or George, or whoever. They're trying to make us look stupid, and fair play, you know, fair play. But the truth of the matter is everything I've described, and I hope that the fight happens. But ultimately, you can't force them to do it.
Well, if it isn't that fight, you've always got Callum Simpson versus Liam Cameron.
Well, I saw that the other day. Yeah, I don't know if Liam would go back to super middleweight now, but yeah, let's see. But yeah, another big star coming through, Callum.